So moving to District 25 for 6A for the boys. Round Rock Westwood 4-0, Cedar Park Vista Ridge 3-1, Vandergrift 3-1, and then McNeil and Stony Point 2-2-1, Manor 2-2, Round Rock at 2-3, and then kind of a gap to Hutto and Cedar Ridge.
This is a really good, a tough, solid district. So Vandergrift, we know about them now. They're on everyone's radar. They were, at state. They made a name for themselves. And that being said, they had a little slip up early in this district round over the last weekend, losing to McNeil. That was one of the games that I was kind of surprised, to see that result. But, who knows what the circumstances were for that match. And I'm sure they're going to make their way back to the top of the table. Just due to the fact that I did get to see them 2 or 3 matches last year, and they were pretty deep. And from what I recall, they were not very senior heavy last year. So that's a team that's, I think is still going to pull out the district title, and it looks like they would probably go Division II. That being said, so depending on who else, Vandergrift.
Yeah, Vandergrift go D2.
Yeah, they would probably be D2 because there's some pretty big schools in this district. But
we'll get to that at the end here. I promise you.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So, McNeil, a solid team. Vista Ridge, Westwood. All the way down to Round Rock Dragons. So don't count, 7th place Dragons out. I think it's we kind of already understand that the Hippos and the Raiders, it might not be their year. But for, 1 through 7, it's going to be a fight for four spots.
Yeah. Hutto's waiting for that new school to open so I can drop down to 5A. But I'm surprised about Stony Point. Stony Point, they've won some good key wins in playoffs.
Yeah, we saw them a couple of years ago.
Yeah. I'm surprised Round Rock's kind of struggling. Maybe they'll kind of get it together. Maybe they got.
But they're not really. Well, they're struggling in district, but overall their record's not. But so we probably have to look to see who they played in district, because if they played.
But the surprise is Vista Ridge, because Vista Ridge was not there last year, and this could be. They got something special going on this year, so they may be a senior-laden team.
So moving over to the ladies for 25, Round Rock 5-0, Vandergrift 4-0, Westwood 3-0-1, Vista Ridge 2-2, Cedar Ridge for the Lady Raiders 2-3, and then kind of a gap from there. But thoughts on the District 25 for the ladies?
This is a tough one too.
Yeah, this is another tough one. Round Rock, best donuts in the state. But the Dragons are a team to be reckoned with, as well as Westwood, Vandergrift. This is going to be tough. I think this one, instead of 7 teams, it's going to be down to about 5 teams. That's going to kind of be vying for the 4 playoff spots. But so those matches, that's where you got to really bring your A+ game when you're playing against any of those top 5 teams.
Moving to 26 boys, Diwali, 6-3-1, 1-1. Very early in district, Dripping Springs 1-0, Lake Travis 1-0, Westlake 1-0, Austin Bowie 1-1, the Austin Aikens, and then Austin Maroons, and I don't know how I had Diwali up at the top there. I didn't move it. Well, I guess overall record, just because of how early it was. On here's my justification, I'll say. For here, but this one looks 5 teams, at least early on, as far as to figure out who it's gonna battle out, depending on if you give Aikens a shot.
Yeah, that's the way it's probably going to play out, from Del Valle down to Bowie. And Bowie's kind of been one of the ones that's kind of been the hot team, the favorite, dark horse somewhat in the last 2 or 3 years. So, but but I think this year is it's going to be more of the, the Westlake, the Lake Travis, and the team that Rafa and I saw a couple weeks ago, which is the Dripping Springs team. Very quality team. Really put some really good passes together, and not only that, but just creative, especially their right forward, number 7. I forgot,
Johnston.
I think it was Johnston. Yeah, very creative out there, and that who played against Johnson High School. But yeah, no, it was. This is going to be a very tough district to try to determine who is going to come out of it. But it will come down to those 5 though.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I was gonna say just Bowie's kind of down this year because remember the last 2 years they were on fire. They're like the favorite to win the region. I think this is a rebuilding there for a year, but still they're still a dangerous team. I think that Dripping Springs when we're out watching them. I think they could sneak like they did a couple of years ago. Make a little run. They just got the pieces. They actually played perfect.
And they'll be D2, yeah.
They play perfect Marcino ball, which they can actually pass from deep and actually put it to space. Even their goalkeeper can pass accurately, and I was impressed by what they did in that game. So to keep an eye on them, they may be that one too that make that run again like they did a couple years ago.
Yeah, maybe you'll be calling some of those names on your other podcast in the next couple of years. Who knows?
So 26 for the ladies. Lake Travis, 1-0, like very, very early in district. Westlake, 1-0. Dripping Springs, 1-0-1. Austin Maroons, 1-0-1. Bowie, 1-1. And DeValley and Inkins at 0-2. It's very, very early, but any thoughts? I'm assuming Lake Travis and Westlake favorites.
Yeah,
and
this one's not as and Dripping Springs. It's not as deep as the boys district, and it's a very small district. But this one is the quality is going to be the 1, 2, and 3. Be ready to see those teams, make a move, and it looks like it's going to be, by looking at the enrollments, D1 will be, the Cavaliers and the Chaps, and then D2 would probably be the Tigers and Maroons.
Unless Bowie gets in. If Bowie gets in, Westlake will drop down.
Yeah, but that being said, the teams that are going to go deep is going to be the Lake Travis Cavaliers and the Westlake Chaparrals. So that's going to be, those are always the thorn in SanAntonio schools' side once we hit playoff rounds. Unfortunately for us SanAntonians.
Interesting matchup, like I said, if it stays this way, let's say Westlake finishes second, they may end up matching up with Round Rock the first round.
We'll get to that here soon.
We'll get to back soon.
Yeah.
27. Brandeis. I know that's in our chat's been kind of the surprise. Yep. Lee, 2-1. Madison, 2-1. Johnson, 2-1. Reagan, 2-1. Churchill, 1-2. But I think I'm assuming we're thinking this is a 5-horse race for the 4 slots.
Yeah. So I've seen Brandeis, Lee, Madison, Johnson, and Churchill play. I've yet to see Reagan play just yet. But this week I will be at Clark versus Brandeis. So I've seen Brandeis play twice. And so I saw them play against Medina Valley, and I saw them last Friday against Lee. And just we expected them to kind of fall off, especially from their kind of senior laden team last year. And if anything, to me, they look more like a team this year. They don't have the big names that they had last year, as far as, their the Boston kid that was in the back, and then their striker Jake that was up top. But they're kind of like the team of not big names, nothing flashy. They just get it done offensively as well as defensively. So very composed against Lee. The way that they started off, They knew, and they kind of, dropped back a little bit, not like park the bus or anything, but they were very organized. Brandeis was defensively, and really executed defensively to intercept passes and cut off passing lanes for Lee. Anything Lee wanted to do on their side of the field, they were totally fine with that. But once Lee started putting pressure or coming into the Brandeis side of the field, that's when they really tightened up and closed off their passing lanes. But they were very, very disciplined and organized defensively. That's what impressed me. And then they counter really, really solidly. So I was very impressed with Brandeis. And like I said, I'll be, watching them again this Saturday. But Madison is another team that they had. They've got some really good, talented kids that I recognize from last year. So I believe they made the playoffs last year. I could be wrong. Okay. So they have some experience from the run that they had last year. So Madison's another team to watch out for. Johnson, I'm not too high on them just yet, just due to the fact that they did play a good little game against Dripping Springs that we did see, but they also were in a very, very close battle with Roosevelt, who's 0-3 so far in the district. And I understand that this is a very competitive district, but usually that's a game that they would probably win more than just a 2-1 result. But maybe they're still kind of building that chemistry. But they do have some talented players. Johnson does. The kid in the back. I forgot his name. I have it on a piece of paper over here. And then they had another kid, like a winger kid.
Right winger.
A right winger. So they've got some talent on their team, though. But it might be a little bit of a rebuilding here for them. But I was impressed with Lee. Lee was very, very good against Brandeis. But to me, Brandeis was just, very organized. But yeah, this is going to be an interesting district, and I'm curious to see Reagan as well, because they've, their record doesn't state it just yet, but I think that they've had some pretty tough matches, non-district matches, that they've put some decent results together. They didn't maybe win the game, but they've come, had some good results against close results, I should say, against some quality opponents.
So for me, Johnson. And I wonder if they're going to be kind of a second half team, because I've seen them twice. And to me, it's I don't want to say they don't have leadership, but it's that leadership on here. Like I'll never forget the NISD showcase here where the coach was going on them where they couldn't even get their uniforms matching right. Just basic things like that where. Because they had a lot of talent last year that graduated for that here. I'm wondering if maybe the second half of the season, when they go through the second round there, where they find out who the true leaders of the team are, if that's going to help turn around. But yeah, to me, Johnson's, if we're talking about today, they were the team that I would think that may drop out if Reagan continues to push up. But Johnson, to me, out of these four, are the ones that I have the greatest concern on if they're going to be able to keep it up compared to between them and Reagan or Madison, because I think Lee and Brandeis are clearly above them.
And if you look at Brandeis, like I said, they also had a coaching change too, and
Yeah, you mentioned that,
and we were kind of thinking maybe the loss of the players that they had last year, and they may take a step back, but I think they bought into what he's brought into this season, and the players are like Steve said, they're being disciplined, keeping their shape defensively, not allowing passes through lanes and so forth. Like I said, they probably not do have because of the maybe not have the superstars, but working as a unit is probably going to be the big key. And then also, like I said, their bench players too, or like I said, they don't drop off a bit. And like I said, but Lee also too, Lee's got a great talent. I got to see them play.
Yeah, Lee's elite.
It's going to be interesting when they play again. So maybe Coach Rogers will have maybe some different adjustments, try to figure them out. I think the last, like I said, spots 3 and 4. I think it is going to come down to Madison, Johnson, and Reagan. And if you remember last year, Lee kind of turned it up at the very end and ended up getting that third spot and knocking out Reagan out of the playoffs. So you may see that again this year. Whoever can get hot towards the end, they end up pushing somebody out of that that last spot of the playoffs.
Yeah. So, and then one other thing. So, for as far as maybe college coaches that are out there, listening and such, go out and see Churchill play. They've got a kid on their team, Darwin. I forgot his last name, but he's number 7, and he's just a firecracker out there, and very, very talented. Not just that he's so fast, but very, very skilled and technical on the ball. And not only that, just and he's only a sophomore. Just a leader on the field too, the way he kind of orchestrates his team around, so I would recommend going to check out Churchill. And then one other thing, the 2 Johnson players that I was talking about was number 9, Kai Knowles, and number 8, was it 18? No, it was 19, Edevi Omakuru. So I apologize if I mispronunciate the name there, but yeah, we're all about recognizing talent when we see it out there, and so that's why we do this kind of stuff to recognize the talent.
He was an enforcer. That's one guy. Yeah, he ran away. He reminds me a lot of like Casemiro. Like he'll put a hurting on you, but doing it the right way, not just to get a card on that. But he really he had a presence there. In that defense.
Yeah, but he was also offensive minded as well. So he would take the ball and dribble and find the open space and make those runs. I mean, I think he was laying on the field just because he was so gassed at one point, but then he got his butt up and went back and defended as well. Like, so I was just very impressed with number 19, for Johnson.
For Brandeis last year, weren't they the team that had the suspensions for 5 weeks or whatever?
Yes.
I'm thinking that time, because from my understanding, it was a lot of the better players that were suspended during that period. Mm-hmm. That's why we're seeing maybe not that big drop off, is because the reserves last year, the quote unquote reserves, got that time to grow. Kind of like how we talk about Lee was young last year. Mm-hmm. I think that's why we're seeing maybe some of the benefits. I hate saying, the benefits of a suspension, but I think for Brandeis this year, they're definitely benefiting from, maybe the players that weren't scheduled to get a lot of time got more time due to those suspensions.
And I think that they have a set of either twins or brothers that are on the team, Williams brothers, that maybe for the next show I can get a little bit more information on them, but they're very quality players and very skilled. But yeah, no, just very impressed by the coach that came on board. I'll have to try to dig a little bit more to find out more information on him as well. But for him being a first-time coach, as far as with this school, I don't know his background, but very impressed.
He came from Bernie Champion.
Oh, okay. So yeah, that kind of makes sense locally.
So moving over to 27 for the ladies, Brandeis 2-0-1, Reagan 2-1, Johnson 2-1, Clark 1-0-2, Lee 1-0-2, Madison 1-1-1. So probably 6 slots for the top 4. Still very early in district, but anything that stands out to you guys?
Yeah, it's good to see Brandeis up on top of the district or this early on. They've kind of been the bridesmaid the last couple of years and not making the playoffs. They come pretty close, but they just never get to it. But I think this year might be a little bit different for them. But you're going to see the challenge all the way from 1 all the way down to 6 is going to be the teams that are going to be vying for those 4 spots. So, but yeah, good start for Brandeis thus far. And like I said earlier, I'll see them this Saturday at Ferris against Clark.
Yeah, I got to see I got to see the Reagan girls play during that showcase, and very talented team. I know they have a loss, but hey, a loss here is, like I said, it's a very competitive, one of the toughest districts in the state, year in, year out. But I think they'll still be in the mix. Same thing with the Johnson girls. Like I said, they had a great run last year. I think they can kind of pull something again this year. But it's also good to see Connor Clark in it, kind of get it back, trying to get it back in it. Kind of the same situation like with Brandeis, and then league. Don't count out the league girls. Like I said, they made the playoffs last year. I think they're still talented enough to get back in and
turned around.
Turn around, and they could, like I said, they can change a lot of things as far as the scenarios, as far as who goes D1 and who goes D2.
Moving on to 28 boys. Warren 4-0-1, Brennan 3-1-1, Harlan 3-2, O'Connor 2-0-3, Sotomayor 3-3, Marshall Rams, who I saw 2-3-1. Stevens a respectable 2-3-1 after last year. Taft started off well, but I've heard they've got a lot of injuries right now. Unfortunately, 1-4, and Holmes, who beat Stevens 1-5 in district for that here. But Warren's been one of the teams to beat this year.
Yeah, I've seen them play a couple times, and they're a very talented team. And I know a couple of the players on the team just due to the fact that I've had the opportunity and been blessed to coach some of those players, and very coachable players as far as the ones that I've been able to coach. And it's really cool to kind of see that transform from, or transfer over from the, club side onto the high school side. And just very proud of the performance that they're, giving on the field. But, their teammates as well, they're a very attack-minded team. Rafa and I got the opportunity to see them last year, and it's kind of the same story, but just more intense. And we have seen Harlan kind of fall off a little bit. They're kind of, on a 3-game little 2 or 3 game winning streak right now. But I think this district might be a little bit different as far as the boys' side is concerned. And it's good to see Marshall, who came in over from the Northeast District. I know they're part of Northside ISD, but they came over from the Northeast District back into this district, and to see them, putting some results together and have a say in what's going on with this district is kind of good to see. But yeah, this looks like it's going to be a 1-6, maybe a 1-7.
The 1-6. Yeah.
I was being nice there, Harry. But
Stevens.
Yeah, no.
So yeah, O'Connor has seen them play as well. And that was the tie that the Warren had was against O'Connor. But I'm curious to go see Harlan play. I've yet to see Brennan play, and I would like to see Sotomayor play as well, because I do have a couple boys that I coached last year that are on that Sotomayor team.
Yeah, I've seen O'Connor play, and AJ has a couple of good friends on O'Connor. To me, like I said here, last year they had a down year where they missed the playoffs. This year, defensively they're very strong. I think if they had an elite level forward for that here, a little bit more consistency up top, where their scoring was a little bit, they'd be able to take the next step. But O'Connor, like I said here, they had a tough match against Marshall yesterday for that here, or 2 days ago, I guess it was. So I was, like I said, Marshall, Harlan, Brennan, Warren, but like I said here, to me, Sotomayor is the one maybe kind of catching me off a little bit, because I know Jay played them in preseason and they were good, but like I said here, but and I know this may not be very popular, but I think this district's probably took a small step back from where it was last year. Just overall, just the talent wise, I know talking to Lethal and stuff, he's a little bit more down on San Antonio soccer. I don't think it's quite as bad as he's saying. But I do think this one here, where Harlan's kind of took that step back, where they were the elite team, where everybody's kind of came back to the pack, for that here. So this one I think is going to be wide open, depending on how it finishes out. Your thoughts, Rafa?
Yeah, remember we did talk to Warren's coach there at that one game when Jay played McCollum. Just talking to him, he mentioned about he's got some key players that I think this could be their year that they could win the district, and he said it's going to be a dogfight. He knows Harlan's kind of been down, but but they've found a way to bounce back up, and I think they're starting to kind of get things together. O'Connor, like I said, I remember we had Coach Bledsoe on the 50/50 podcast. He mentioned that we've had some key wins going on. They got a big win over Harlan, and they're trying to get back, like I said, trying to get back into the playoffs. Like you mentioned, I think it could be a 6-team race. Which order? We're not sure yet. Brandon, like I said, they have a brand new coach that came over actually from Harlan. He was assistant coach at Harlan. He's really kind of shaped things there, and they're in contention. So it's going to be interesting. Like I said, there's 16 district games. Anything can happen. You saw how it happened the last few years with the girls. I think this could be the same scenario here with the boys this year.
So Taft 5-0 for the ladies, Warren 4-1, O'Connor 3-1-1, Sotomayor 2-1-3, Brennan 2-1-2, Harlan 2-2, and then kind of the drop off from there. And I know Rafa and I have kind of discussed this. We thought Taft might take a step back, but so far they haven't took a step back. So, and Warren's right on their heels as well as O'Connor. So, your kind of thoughts, Rafa, on the 28 ladies and Taft leading the charge, being undefeated so far in district?
Yeah, I remember talking to Taft's coach when I did a visit that they're at their school back in December. Yeah, he was concerned they were going to be young because, like I said, they lost a lot of talent. A lot of talent. How do you replace that? And I think he said if we could. He did mention about if we could kind of get it together early on. I know we're going to struggle a bit, but at what time we can get to district play, we can kind of turn the leaf there. I think they'll be in good shape. Especially you got Madison there as
between the pipes, the leadership,
leadership there. I think she's been probably the key there, kind of keeping the ship afloat. And like I said, look where they're at right now. Warren, I think, like I said, was going to be probably one of the favorites because I know me and Steve saw them last year, and like I said, they have the best midfield in the district. A little surprised O'Connor's a little down, I guess, even though it's still early on, but I'm sure they'll probably get together. We're expecting maybe Soto to kind of have a breakout year. Brandon started out pretty strong. I don't know if like I said, a couple of setbacks there, or maybe some injuries. But like I mentioned, and then Harlan, like I said, talked to Coach Villa. I think she had a really good start coming in. They're still in the hunt. So this is a 6-team race when it comes to these 4 playoff spots. And like I said, the last few years, especially the girls' side, one steals a win from another, and it's probably going to come down to the very last game.
It's these bottom 3 teams here. Holmes, Stevens, if they can week out draws. We've seen that the last couple of years where if you draw, you not necessarily lose, but if you drop points to Holmes or Stevens, and because they do play tight, they may not have the talent level that the other 6 have, but they still do have a lot of fight. And like I said, here on any given day, they have shown that they can step up and snag a point or 2 from there.
Yeah, it's definitely a 6-team race with Harlan. I actually got to see Harlan girls JV yesterday, and I was very impressed with the JV team that Harlan has put together. And watch out for this, the Harlan girls in the next couple of years. They're very, like the interview that we had with Coach Vela, they're very sophomore. They've got a lot of sophomores that are playing, and some of the girls that I've coached in the past are sophomores, and so I got the opportunity to go see them yesterday, and very impressed with the way that they play and move the ball around almost at a varsity level, from what I saw yesterday. So I was very impressed with that. But no, big shout out to Mads and the Harris family with Taft. Kind of surprised us with that result over Warren last week. That was going to be a big clash, and I'm sure it was. And for them to get a 2-0 result against Warren was very eye-opening. But O'Connor, Sotomayor, kind of still trying to put it together. And Brennan is a team that I think is going to have a big say-so as far as, getting, finding there. I think they're going to find a way into the top four. Right now they're sitting at fifth, but yeah, I think the way when everything kind of shakes up, I think I was very impressed with what I've seen when I saw Brennan play a couple weeks ago, their girls squad.
So moving to 29, Rafa, I'll read the scores and then I'm going to step out for a second here. But Shirts is up 1-0 in district. San Marcos 1-0. East Central and Judson drew, and there's Canyon had a bye. Steele and Buda Johnson lost through there. Very, very, very early in district here. But I'm going to step out for a second if the two of you want to talk just for 30 seconds.
Sure. Yeah, this you could say this district just started this week. Usually, like I said, the clear favorite is going to be Clemens. I thought maybe, like I said, Canyon. I think Canyon may have a say on this because, like I said, they've played well the last few years in 5A. Just the jump to, especially in that district they play in, I think they can do some damage here in 6A. And a little surprised Steele with a loss, I thought they would probably be up there, but it's still early. But Stevie, I know you mentioned about San Marcos, in the past, as far as they've done well. And this there could be a surprise again, like they did last year.
Yeah, they're one of those teams that they're building their club up, or they're building their community up through their club side. So they've got Surge is the club that we played against. I know they also have Fusion is another club. And but yeah, no, that's a team to kind of watch out for. They got a 3-2 result against Buda Johnson this in their first opening match of district. But yeah, I think Comal Canyon Cougars will have something to say so in this district, and look for Steele to bounce back, as well as Buda Johnson. So this is one of those districts where I want to say it's kind of a 5-6 team kind of race for district, or I should say for the playoffs. But yeah, with we'll kind of see how it plays out. It's still extremely early right now.
Moving over to the ladies, same scenario. Buda Johnson 1-0, Judson 1-0, Steele 1 in district. Canyon actually has a bye. They didn't play. San Marcos 0-1, Clemens 0-1 in East Central. I put it. Unfortunately, got one happy with Como Canyon. But your thoughts on the ladies here? I know it's extremely, extremely early since they've only played one game.
Yeah, kind of the same thing. I think it's going to be a 5-6 team kind of race for the 4 playoff spots. Look for Buda Johnson, I think, and Steele to kind of top the table. And which would those two teams would probably be the D1 representative for this district.
Yeah, Buda Johnson. Remember, they moved in from the district where they played Lake Travis at Westlake, and they made the playoffs last year. They were still in contention for the district title, so they moved over this year. I do know that they had a coaching change, so maybe that's when they had a little slow start during pre-district play. But like I said, I think they're going to be the favorite. Still will probably be up there. I would have caught out Canyon, even though Canyon lost to Canyon Lake and also to Davenport in pre-district. But hey, those are quality teams. But Canyons, like I said, are battle tested from that district that we're in last year with 26-5A. And then we'll see with the rest. I did get to see Clemens play when they played Reagan, and Reagan kind of, you can show they had a little bit more. But Clemens does have some but the thing is, Clemens does have some talent, and I think they might be a young team.
They started slow last year too, right? I believe it was the ladies that started slow, and then because I was counting them out, and then I think they ended up sneaking into the playoffs.
Yeah, I think this year because I think they lost a lot of from graduation. I know one of their players, Cheyenne Grant, she actually plays for us at UHV. So I think last year was like their senior laden team. So it's going to be an open race for, I think, especially for that 4th spot. But I think it's going to come down to Buda Johnson and Steele, for the top for the district title.
So moving to 30 boys. This is the Rafa home district. Del Rio Rams 2-0, Laredo United 1-0, Eagle Pass 1-0, Laredo South 1-0, Medina Valley 0-1-1, Laredo LBJ 0-1-1, and Alexander is the only one that's 0-2. Your thought on your home district here as far as with 30 boys?
The surprise is like Alexander 0-2, and I got to see Alexander play, and they played some really tough non-district teams to prepare for this. And I know they played at Del Rio and they lost. I think they lost 3-1. That's a little surprising. They're a little surprised that Del Rio's at top right now. Like I said, I saw them play. You know, their defense would look a little shaky. That was the thing there. So how was the back four was going to react? Are they going to be able to kind of get it together? And also, they didn't really have that one key number 9 up top. And like I said, they did have a good goalkeeper, so I know they would be able to keep them in. I still think the favorite's going to be Laredo United. But your dark horse is going to be those Eagle Pass Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
Keep really. I think they got some talent out there. We got to see it on the club side. You know, they're in shirts, and they may do some damage this year. So keep an eye on them, and we'll see what Medina Valley does too. Like I said, I know this is first year moving up from 5A to 6A, but I think Coach Payne, will get them together. I think they can contend and maybe get that last spot of the playoffs. I think it may come down to between them and United South. And then a little surprise for LBJ, because LBJ usually has very talented squads, like really raw, talented players. To see them at 1-10, it's a little head scratching there. So, maybe it's a very young team, and like I said, they may not be able to do much this year. So, but I still think it's like I think it's a 5-team race, for the playoffs. But I think United's probably going to win in the district.
Yeah, I think Medina Valley is going to have a little say-so in what goes on in this district, and I know it's going to be tough. They moved up from 5A to 6A, but they did. The game that I did see them play was against Brandeis, and they did lose 3-0. But that being said, for a majority of the match, it was fairly even for that. So I think that's going to be one of those games that's going to really prepare them for this district. And I do have a kid that I coached last year,
Damien,
sophomore, Diego, that plays on AJ's club team. And so that the Medina Valley team is going to be they're going to have a say-so in this. I think they kind of got it started on the district, a little bit slow, but, look for them to kind of regain some momentum and put some good results together. But, that Eagle Pass team is playing under the Del Rio kind of, I think, name in the tournaments as far as club is concerned. But that Eagle Pass team, they've got some good ballers out there.
Moving over to the ladies, Medina Valley 8-1-1, 2-0 in district. Alexander 2-0. Laredo United 1-0, Del Rio 1-1, Eagle Pass, Laredo Johnson, United South 0-2 for that here. But I know Rafa and I just kind of talked about Medina Valley, and as far as district winners, this is the one that seems like you're fairly confident as far as Medina Valley, with the talent that they have, should be able to pull away from Alexander and United.
I think it would be. I think it's going to come down to Medina Valley United. I know Coach Cano told me he played United last year, and he mentioned to me about they had some very talented players, lots of speed. It's going to be a very interesting game when they face each other the first time around. But I think whoever wins it, like I said, those are probably your two district favorites. And then as far as the last spots, like I said, it's going to come down probably like it could be Alexander had a big win over Del Rio. So they have already got a kind of foot ahead of them as far as the tiebreaker. So it's probably those four teams are going to probably end up seeing in the playoffs.
Moving over to the 31 boys, these are smaller conferences for 31 and 32. Edinburgh, Intermediates, They haven't started district yet, but 11-2. La Jolla 7-3. Edinburgh North 6-1-2, and then they kind of drop off, but they're there. But any favorites or any things you want to point out for the 31 boys? I know they haven't started district, so what we see doesn't really apply going forward. But
Edinburgh North was your regional finalist last year. I'm sure they were coming in as far as the favorite, but out of nowhere, Economides, they may be for real. They may be the Edinburgh North from this year, and going in. Also, La Jolla. La Jolla in the past, they've had some good teams when there used to be just one high school. Maybe this is finally their year to kind of get that talent together, because normally Palmview and Juarez Lincoln kind of get the more of the kind of the chatter. But like I said, the La Jolla Coyotes, I think they may do some do some good things this year, and we'll see what Edinburgh North does. I know, like I said, they haven't started district play, but I think it's probably going to come down to the Economides and North who wins that district.
Yeah, and actually last year North knocked out Economides in the third round. So, but it looks like they might be Division I, Division II this year. So, we'll see how it plays out.
Moving over to the ladies, the Los Laco Panthers 14-1-1. Then Far San Juan Alamo Bears 6-5-2. La Jolla 8-7-2, and then the Edinburgh schools, at least preseason or pre-district. Not the best records, but depending on how it plays out. But any thoughts on the 31 ladies?
Yeah, just surprised to see the Westlaco record at 14-1-1. That's fantastic start to the season. But of course, we'll see what happens when they start district.
Yeah, I think this is the first time. I think this is probably the best start they've ever had in a long time. And because remember they used to play in District 32, and even for the girls' side, that one's even a tough district. But now because you have Los Fresnos in there and Harlingen. I think them not being in that district, but gaining that experience from that, I think it's kind of helped them here. And I think they realize they're going to have to face one of those two in the playoffs. So great start for them. And I think this, as far as the rest of the team, is probably going to be an open race for those 3 playoff spots.
And wasn't it the Westlaco girls in softball that won state last year? So
that Grand Slam.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You never know, right?
Speaking of 32 boys, five team conference. Los Fresnos 10-3-1. Brownsville Veterans Memorial. Harlingen Cardinals. Chargers. I don't know. I think I have that wrong. 6-7-1. Benito Greyhounds 5-3-2, and then Brownsville Hannah 2-9. No district play as of yet. Probably start next week? Maybe this week for that here.
I mean, the odds to make the playoffs in this district are pretty good. So if you don't make it,
80%.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, that's tough if you don't make the playoffs here. But no, Los Fresnos and Vets Memorial are probably going to be the front runners for this district, and not just because of their overall record, but just due to the fact that that's historically what we've seen for the boys in 32.
And then Harlingen's kind of been an upstart. Like I said, they're starting to kind of, like I said, the Browns could usually get the showcase on there, but I think the Harlingen Cardinals are finally gonna. I think maybe they may surprise some teams this year, and we'll see. My dad's old alma mater, Hannah, can get things together in the district play and try to get one of those playoff spots.
Yeah, and Harlingen is just the Cardinals, Harry. You can take out the Chargers.
Yeah, the Chargers are Veterans Memorial. Yeah.
Oh, so that's what I did. Okay, so I don't have it. Okay, so that's what I did wrong. Things you notice at 10:30 at night. San Benito for the ladies.
Well, my wife's from Harlingen, so I'm that's all I know.
I was like, Harlingen Cardinals.
She's Harlingen South, though. She's a South Hawk.
So Harlingen Cardinals 6-4, the Falcons 5-4, Brownsville Veterans 3-3-2, and 3-4 for Brownsville Hannah. So this one seems like it's wide open. Once again, 80% to make the playoffs.
I think it comes. The top two are going to be Harlingen and Los Fresnos.
Yes,
those
same.
are your two district favorites.
Yeah, but I mean, San Benito's kind of got started off pretty well. I mean, shoot, 20 games in, damn. But
it was those 20-minute games.
Yeah. So the quarters.
This is per Max Prep. So I did notice because there was one that we had last year where they were like at 22, 23 games, and somehow they had gone through and cleaned it up. I've noticed
they've got 20 games, whereas Pearsall only has one game. So man, they need to get with the scheduler. But yeah, like Rafa said, Harlingen and Los Fresnos is probably going to be the front runners.
So let's do this here. So we're testing this out here with the bracket here. 6A Division 1, Boys Region 4. This is how it would look. You would have Round Rock, and this is very, very, very early. So take this with a grain of salt. You'd have Round Rock Westwood Warriors facing off against the Valley Cardinals. Lee versus O'Connor. Then you would have East Central versus Laredo United South. Inberg Indomites versus San Benito Greyhounds. And then on the bottom half of the bracket, Lake Travis versus Cedar Park Vista Ridge. Brennan versus Johnson. Laredo United versus Converse. And Los Fresnos versus Edinburgh North. For D1 for Region 4 of the boys. To me, the league, the north side schools or northeast 27, 28 schools, both of those are juicy matchups for me.
Yeah, the Austin matchups are going to be the kind of the highlight of these brackets, and then going into the I don't know if it's by district and area still, or how they're kind of naming these, but we'll just call it first round and second round for now. So the second round matchup with the, right off the bat, in the second round, you've got an Austin and San Antonio school. So that's going to be extremely difficult for the San Antonio schools to try to advance. But that being said, if you get out of that round, you've got a decent shot to get into the regional, final from there, because I think still right now, until proven differently, the cream of the crop is Austin right now.
So did you have any feedback, Rafa, before I move to Division 2?
I mean, it wouldn't be if this was the case, which we're not right now, but it'd be interesting to see another classic between Lake Travis and Lee. The battles that they had the last few years, and I think that'd be a really
they'd
good.
Be on different. They'd be different.
It'd be Lake Travis versus. That's what he's saying in the regional final.
Oh, in the regional final.
Which I think, if they do get to play, I think Toyota Field would be a nice place to play the regional final.
Yeah, you got to give up that dream, man.
Just throwing that out there.
I mean,
make it happen, Matt.
Right. As long as there's a new scoreboard, right?
Hey, well, the scoreboard's down, and there is turf, or not turf, but new grass going out. So to me, Division 2 seemed, at least name brand wise, seemed more juicier. Vandergraft versus Austin Westlake, Brandeis Harlan, Clemens Eagle Pass, La Jolla Harlingen Cardinals, Dripping Springs Round Rock McNeil, Warren Madison Del Rio San Marcos, and Brownsville Vets for Edinburgh North Cougars. So 8 juicy matches.
Yeah, so Division 2 looks a little bit more, the usual suspects that we typically see. We got the Vandergrifts, you got the West. I mean, what a first round match. Jeez. Then you've got, Brandeis and a Harlan. Damn,
matchup.
That's like a regional semifinal, both of those matches. And then Clemens and Eagle Pass. I mean, that I would love to see that game, So the way that this is kind of playing out, the D2 bracket is kind of like Harry's words, juicier, matchups. And then on the bottom part of the bracket, you've got Dripping versus McNeil, who just beat Vandergrift, and then you've got Warren and Madison. I mean, I'm there all day to see those matches.
That would be a really good game.
Oh yeah,
You know,
yeah. I would definitely be at Warren versus Madison. I would love to see that matchup. That'd be a great match.
And then, of course, for that here. So then moving on to the ladies, and like I said, I only did 6A for here just to test it out for here, but we might try to do this
It's fun
going forward. Round Rock Dragons versus Westlake, Reagan, O'Connor.
That's a regional final, right? That's a regional final.
That's a regional final in the first round.
I mean, if Round Rock or Westlake are watching, hey, you got to play that game at Q2 for that one.
Man, and then you got Reagan O'Connor. So yeah,
Johnson, Laredo United, Waslaco, Los Fresnos, Lake Travis versus Round Rock Westwood. Taft, Johnson, Laredo Alexander, Steele, San Benito, and Edinburgh North.
I could see. So on the if we're gonna quarter these out, I would see Westlake getting out of there over Reagan, and then Buda Johnson over probably Los.
So you got Westlake beating Round Rock.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Yeah, Westlake was in the state championship last year.
State finalists, yeah.
So, but then it would be Westlake versus Buda Johnson, I would think. And then on the bottom half, I mean, Lake Travis versus, I would say I could see Taft getting past Johnson this year, but you never know until it plays out. But so Lake Travis potentially against Taft in the second round, tough matchup there. I think Steele has kind of got the bottom part of the quadrant. So it would be Steele versus, potentially like a Lake Travis. Yeah. So, and then Lake Travis, Austin Westlake, I would think, in the final. So, which I believe they come from the same district.
Same district.
And then the last one that I did here, Vandergrift versus Austin Maroons, Brandeis, Sotomayor, Judson, Del Rio, Far San Juan Memorial, Bears, Brownsville Veteran Memorial, Dripping Springs, Cedar Park, Vista Ridge, Warren Clark, Medina Valley, San Marcos, and Harlingen Cardinals and La Jolla Coyotes.
Not as juicy as the boys. D2.
It's weird how it flipped, right? D1 was more juicier with the girls, and D2, was
so this one's not as interesting, but still, we'll definitely be following it because we're nerds for this stuff. But yeah, no, so it would be probably Vandergrift and
Vandergrift.
Brandeis, yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
And then maybe either Del Rio or Judson. That's kind of
I think Judson. I think Judson because I know Coach Cano mentioned about them that they're starting to kind of get better. They've been getting better each year. So they're on the right trajectory.
Either Dripping and Vista Ridge. That's going to be good. And then Warren versus Clark. That'll be a good match. I could see Warren getting by. And then Medina Valley probably advancing in the bottom quadrant.
So that'll be Harlingen.
Yeah, so I would probably see Dripping Springs.
I see Dripping Springs versus Vandergrift.
Versus Vandergrift. So that's like 3 out of 4 from District 26. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think to me that District 26 is kind of the front runner on the girls' side for 6A.
So that was a fun experiment. We'll see if we can do that. Maybe add a couple other regions for that here. But no, like I said here, just a snapshot. We're a month in. Several districts started 1st of January that have the 9-10. For the smaller districts are just now starting, so maybe we'll kind of revisit this. End of February, 3rd week in February, maybe after Valentine's, kind of revisit.
Well, January was kind of like 5 weeks though. January was super long, but I think now we're starting to see how the season's gonna kind of play out. We've got some new teams, we've got some old faces that we've kind of usual suspects, what we call them, but kind of playing out. So no, I mean it's one month down, but 2 more to go, three more to go, 2.5 more.
So, but yeah, it's to me, like I said here, I know we still went 2+ hours, Rafa, so I don't know how we get this down.
That's fine.
So
that's because I jumped in and
well, no, it's like I said. I think what threw us off, and we didn't even talk about one of the topics that Rafa wanted to get into, which we'll save it for another night, with the referees and kind of positioning and how that's impacted some games. Along those lines. And to be fair, referees are put in an impossible position, especially if there's 2 referees for a varsity game when hopefully there should be 3 for that here if possible. But no, like I said here, it's to me, like I said here, it was a fun show. Hopefully you get some value out of it, just kind of being able to see the standings where people are. I know you can go on to Max Prep and kind of go through, but this is a way to kind of go through and see everything in one spot. And then obviously next week, RPI or another week?
RPIs. We'll have RPIs. So
we may do RPI and then maybe do District 5A for the playoffs. Just kind of get a snapshot for 5A for there, because 4A is hard to do. Just being honest with you, just the schools don't report it as well as the 5A and 6A schools do. So for that here, so we'll probably do this either Wednesday or Thursday, because AJ's got practice on Wednesdays for that here. So
we may be able to do the 4A, maybe just the top hand of the bracket of the Austin San Antonio area.
Okay, yeah, we can do it.
We can do
well,
that.
If we're gonna do that, I can do it. Well, like so it doesn't take that long to go through. So, and it doesn't. If I have the standings here, outside of 31 and 32, because it's really 31 and 32, you just wouldn't have that quadrant. Which historically they're not strong programs, from there, anyways. But this year could be different. Steve, thanks for coming on. I know late night for you. Rafa, safe travels back. I think you come back tomorrow afternoon.
Tomorrow, yeah, I'll be back tomorrow. Yeah.
So make sure you hit Austin about 4:00 in the afternoon.
And actually, I'm going down 281. So
Lampasas, yeah.
Yeah, because I'm going to Lampasas, so I won't get to hit it. Maybe the traffic there on 281 and 1604.
Mm-hmm. Well, at least there won't be fog like I hit the other day on 281.
Well, you hope, right?
But yeah, safe travels. I'll be out next week, so maybe I'll see you guys in 2 weeks. So I'll be out of state next week. So
and then for me, I think I'm going. AJ plays at Harlingen, I think is where he plays tomorrow. So
Harlandale,
Harlandale. So I'll be going down there, and depending on Monica's going to go shopping with Anna, so I might see if there's a Saturday match to go sneak out to again, because I have the NISD pass, so I've already paid the $50 to go watch any match for that here. And sorry, lady.
Go to
There's
Ferris.
one Saturday. Yeah, there's one at Ferris, right, on Saturday.
Yeah, Clark and Brandeis. That's where I'll be, Harry. So
okay.
Feel free to hit me up if there's a 12 o'clock and a 2 p.m.
I felt sorry for the lady because she's trying to check me in. She's like, "Well, what school are you here for?" I'm like, "All of them." I'm like, "I got the pass for all of them. I'm here to watch all the games." Yeah. She's like, "Well, pick a team." I'm like, "I'm here for all of them. What are you talking about?" Because I'm used to, "Hey, what school did you?" She asked, "What school did you buy it from?" I was like, "I didn't buy it from a school. I bought it from the season pass."
The
so,
district, yeah.
So next time I learned, just give her a team name so that way
you'll get in the gate
person
quicker
X.
that way.
Yeah, so I think I ruined her day because I was like, "Dude, it's all of them. What do you not understand?" And I even went back and I was like, "Look, this is why I said season pass. It covers everybody." She's like, "Well, I just need to know who it is." And I was like, "All right, have a good day."
Yeah, sometimes the volunteers working at the front they question. So Rafa and I have the pass that Hector gave us, and one lady was like, "Well, where's your camera?" And I was like, my phone, like I could take pictures. Well, usually when people have a pass, they have, a big camera, and I was like, oh, I don't have that. I could still be part of the media. Who knows? I could be writing about it, but they always got a question for some reason, usually I would think that they would know my face by now, but no.
So the people that are there, like, hey, how many games you go to? I was like, well, usually I try to go to a game or two a week, at least there, just so that way I can get my money's value. And then, of course, if AJ's playing away, I really liked going. I will say, and I tweeted this out, and we've talked about this before. I do think the north side schools and the northeast side schools do miss creating an environment by playing at Gus and Northside 1 as opposed to playing at the local schools, because you go down to the south side where, like going to South San and, like I said, with the memorial that they have, and shout out to them for the Veterans Memorial that they have there, one of the best in the States. But you go to south side, you go to Southwest, along those lines here, just
legacy.
Legacy. But you actually see a home field advantage. And I know you guys talk about, if you go down to Corpus or go down to, especially Laredo and those schools down there, where it's actually a home field advantage, where here it's, like MacArthur's, Jay had a decent crowd, but they were just sitting watching, which, at least they weren't yelling at the players or, anything along those lines, which is positive. But, I've seen some of our club matches have more noise than the games. So.
Well, you do get that with the 5A group of death, with Piper and Smithson Valley, Alamo Heights, Kerrville Tivy, New Braunfels, those schools.
But that's because they play at their schools.
Right. Yeah. So, and that's pretty neat, and then, so what happens then is then they also include the JV. So then the JV plays before the varsity on, the gender side, so if it's the boys, the JV boys play first before the JV or the varsity boys, rather than, whereas Northeast and North Side, it's the girls team plays before the boys team, or the boys, or I should say varsity team.
They rotate.
Yeah. They rotate that, but
that should change though. Like, to me, and I think Rafa told, I forget who I asked about that. From a coaching aspect, being able to be there when the JV's there, or come in, because Coach Port comes in at halftime, because he gets his the varsity ready, and then they show up around halftime, and he'll watch how they're playing and be able to base like he got on AJ just last week here for for something that he wanted him to do. But as the varsity coach, you're able to see, hey, game action. It's really where if they're split, it's on the different weeks. Those are at the schools. But to me, the biggest thing that I see, because I stay for both games, the JV team stays and supports the varsity team, and the varsity team for the second half, once they gets there, will support, through there. Like the MacArthur team, I think they all rode over in the one bus for that here. And to me, it's just one thing I wish Northside would look at making the changes, because it's the same amount of games. It is the same amount of games. You're just, changing. You're keeping the only thing that I could see is you're keeping the varsities together. So if you have a parent that's got a boy and girl on the varsity side, you're able to watch both games as opposed to having to go cross town or, different cities for it. So
yeah,
but I'm sure Rafa's got to get to bed. I'm sure he's got an early school visit tomorrow. Steve, he's got some back office work that he's got to do. My job, I got to get up early. I may have to take AJ to school, it sounds like here. So thank you for everybody that's tuned in. Looking at the people that watch, was over 200 for, we're here for a lot of the night here. So do thank you for that here. And I hope everybody has a wonderful evening, and what's life without goals?
You ain't seen nobody like this. You ain't seen nobody like this. You hear my sound all over town singing. Whoa, whoa.